So if we want to compare now between plant and human photoreceptors, we know that humans have 4 photoreceptors and that they can see between the blue to the red spectrum. Plants actually are much more complex than we are when it comes to light signaling. Plants have upwards of 13 photoreceptors. They have one that's called UVR8, which we didn't go into details of, which allows the plant to detect UV light, light that we're blind to. Plants can see this and respond. Plants have upwards of 5 photoreceptors that detect blue light. They have 2 what we call phototropins. These are now the name of the photoreceptor for blue light, a photoreceptor for flowering in blue light, and another photoreceptor for letting a plant know about seedling development called cryptochrome. Plants also can detect green light, and they have multiple photoreceptors for red and for far red light. Actually, Arabidopsis has 5 different types of phytochromes. So that we can see that from a plant's perspective, humans actually may be somewhat visually dysfunctional because plants can see much more. Now I have to point out here that while both animals and plants have photoreceptors, while both animals and plants see blue and red light, the photoreceptors that detect and respond to the light are completely different. Animals don't have phytochrome. They have something called erythrolabe, which allows them to see the red light. And they don't have phototropin. They have another, the blue cones, which allow them to see blue light. These are not the same photoreceptors. There's no evolutionary connection between them. But the ability to see light and respond to it is conserved among all organisms. So why would a plant need to be so sensitive to light? Well, this goes back to the first lecture when we talked about plants being unmovable. So what is light for a plant? Light is its ability to eat. Plants use light, sunlight, to power photosynthesis. A plant needs to know where the light is so that it could do photosynthesis and make its own food. So a plant needs to know where the direction of its food is, what the intensity of its food is, and when it should be flowering in order to make its next generation. So because of the plant can't move, it's developed the ability to detect both the direction and the intensity and the type of light, which is much more complex than what animals have. I want to end with one other thing here. I talked about how plant signaling or light signaling is not evolutionarily connected between plants and animals. And that's correct except for one molecule or one example. And that's this molecule here called cryptochrome. Cryptochrome is the blue light receptor that allows a plant seedling to know how to develop in the light. Now the name cryptochrome is actually quite an oxymoron because crypto means unknown and chrome is color. So while plant scientists had known that there should be a blue light receptor, they didn't know what it was. And Professor Johnny Gressel at the Weizmann Institute named it cryptochrome because they didn't know what the receptor was. Today we've cloned that gene and we know where this blue light receptor is, what it looks like, but the name has remained the same, cryptochrome. Now you also have cryptochrome in your bodies. So what was the connection between cryptochrome in plants and cryptochrome in animals? Well, there is one way that we are influenced by light, which is the same way that plants are influenced by light. And that's our biological clocks. If you've ever gone through jet lag, you know that being out in the sun helps reset your clock. And actually, through evolution, all organisms have biological clocks. And all organisms have to have the ability to have their clocks set by the light environment. And this cryptochrome sets a plant's clock, and it also sets an animal's clock. So at least at this level, blue light signaling is conserved between plants and animals. So to summarize sight, what sight is for a plant and what it is for a person, we respond to a spectrum of about 400 to 700 nanometers, while plants respond to a spectrum of 300 to about 750 nanometers, a wider spectrum of vision. For us, light signals are sensed in the retina, whereas in plants, it's sensed in all cells. Humans have about 5 photoreceptors. Plants have 12 or 13 photoreceptors. Actually, the number is dependent on which species we're talking about, but in all cases, it's more than in humans. For us, it enables primarily identifying details that we see in pictures. Plants don't need to see the details, but for them, it enables them to find food. But actually, if you think about it, the details also enable us to find food. Light, for us, synchronizes the biological clock. And also for plants, it synchronizes the biological clock and enables a plant to know what season of the year it is.